Hi everyone, it's Chari here, and I'm going to be making a card today using some ThermoWeb products that they were kind enough to send us to play with this week. I already made this card, and the card I'm going to be making in the video is very similar. It's got the same technique and ideas. I'm just going to change up the word I use a little bit and make it say "let it snow." So a few of the products they sent us that I'm not using on this particular card is this sticky tab runner. It runs like a glue runner does, but it has just a tab, so it doesn't make a continuous line unless you just kept running around, and it was pretty cool. I've used it once. I really liked it. They sent us some Zots. I use Zots all the time, but these are singles, so they come on a little clear plastic piece. Probably makes it a little easier to get on your projects. I use the ones that come on a roll very often. That was my personal one. So I haven't used the single ones yet, but I'm sure I will. And then they also sent us these glitter dust photo corners, which I don't use photo corners too often, but I did use the gold ones on the project I made for Monday that you probably saw on the blog, which was this little bird card. I used it on each of those little panels to hold my bird pictures onto my card. So the products I'm going to be using today is this iCraft adhesive double-sided tape. This is the package it came in. Obviously I've already opened it and used it, but it's a 1/4 inch wide, and I think they have a couple different thicknesses, but it's easy to tear off, it's double-sided, and it works really well. And I'm also going to be using that glitter dust spray, and it's really hard to see on this card, but that whole front panel I sprayed with that spray. I got the iridescent, so that's why it's kind of hard to see on the camera. It also comes in gold, which I think Nicole used earlier this week, which is a lot easier to see on the white. I'm guessing the iridescent might show up better on a colored cardstock, but I wanted to keep this card very plain and simple but have a lot of shine. So those are the two things I'm going to use in this particular project. So I'm going to make my card say "let it snow." So the word I'm going to cut out is snow, and I'm going to put the glitter behind it. And I like to plan things out. You can see I planned out the first one right here. Well, I just flipped my little piece of paper over and planned out the other one because I don't like to waste paper. So I have some of the Kohl's ABC's letters cut out. When I first got my dies, before I pull them apart, I ran it through my die cut machine a couple times with some cardstock. So I have this little bag of letters. I've used some of them, but for the most part it's just the majority of the alphabet. And so they're kind of handy to have around to plan stuff out, so you can see how much space that those letters take up. Now, to do a card like this, since there is only one of each letter on the Kohl's dies, unless you are lucky enough to have multiple ones, it's probably best to pick a word that only uses one of each letter, that doesn't have double letters. Happy would be hard because you'd have to get that second P, or merry with the R. So bright, snow, shine, smile, any of those kinds of words would be good for this idea. Now here I still have my word bright stuck together with a piece of washi tape, and I'm going to kind of keep it together for a little while. I think I might make another card like this, and it's not a big deal just to keep it on that piece of tape. I keep my dies like this on a magnetic little folder, and it sticks right down there and that tape can stay. So I'm going to do the same thing with snow. Now you could use a ruler to line them up, but when you break them apart you get those little nubby things on the bottoms, and I haven't taken the time to file mine down flat. So instead of using a ruler that's thicker, I'm using a piece of paper because it will slide right under the lip and go right against the cutting surface of the letters. So I'm going to pick up my letters with that washi tape, and the end moved. Maybe if you're a little more careful than I was. But it's just that one letter, so instead of trying to line them up again, I'm just going to fix that one letter and make sure it's straight with the rest that did stick to my tape. So there I have the word snow, and you can see how it sort of fits up there on my card the way I want it to. And then to make this card, I've cut a standard size card base from Nina Solar White cardstock, and that's going to be the base of the card. And then I've cut another panel that leaves a 1/4 inch mat all the way around it, and that's going to be the panel that we cut our die cut out of. And so I can take my word snow and figure out where I want to place it. I don't want it all the way at the bottom. Maybe about a third of the way up is where I'm going to place it. And I made sure my piece of tape was a lot longer than my word so that I have some tape to stick to the piece of paper. And now I've used Smitty's ABCs, and I've went ahead and put Let It on a block. And I'm going to use a snowflake from the Frosties set to fill in beside the word snow. So you can see here I'm just sort of looking at my stamps and just making sure that I have my dies in the right place. I was actually looking to see which snowflake I like better, but just to make sure I have my snow far enough over and everything's spaced right before I cut it. So now I'm just going to make sure it's stuck down really well. You could wrap this around the back if you wanted to, but you don't have to. And then I'm going to just take this and run it right through my Cuttlebug. So I've run that through my Cuttlebug, and I'm just going to peel up those letters right there. And I'm going to set this aside because I might make another one of these, and I want to do just like the word bright and sort of keep it held together with the tape. And then you can keep your letters for another project if you wanted. I'm going to move them aside because I'm going to use that center of the O before I'm done, so I don't want to lose that. So I'm just going to leave it stuck inside there. And then now comes sort of the technical part, I guess. I'm going to line up that panel where I want it to be on the card base. And I'm just going to take a pencil and mark the top and the bottom of the letters, so the far extents of those letters. And it's really hard to see on camera because I did pretty light marks here. And then I'm going to use my T-square ruler to put it right up against there and draw a straight line across my card. And these are actually going to get covered up because when I measured my letters, they were slightly less than an inch. I think they're like 7/8 maybe, I want to say. I can't really tell when I'm looking at the video here, but I think that they were 7/8, just slightly less than an inch. And my craft tape is 1/4 of an inch, so there's going to be 4 of those within an inch, and it's going to completely cover the letters and go past them a little bit, which will be great because it'll be behind the panel. So what I'm doing here is I'm lining it up. So I'm lining it up here with my ruler to where the tick marks, there's a 1/16 inch past each of those lines I drew so that I know a 1/2 inch is the center. And then I'm going to mark, well, I'm going to draw it across first. But then after that I'm going to make a mark that is 1/4 of an inch, please excuse my head, 1/4 of an inch off that center line. So I've basically made where the middle of those letters are, and I'm going to make a 1/4 inch mark off there, and I'm going to draw those lines in as well. Now granted, those first lines I drew where the letters were are not 1/4 inch off these lines I'm drawing now, but that doesn't really matter. It's going to be covered up. There's really no sense in worrying about erasing them and drawing them in 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take a piece of that tape that's pulled off longer than my card, and I'm going to line it up with the center line first. I'm lining up the bottom of the tape with the center line. And then I'm just going to fast forward it here, and I'm going to put the piece underneath it first. So those are my 2 center ones, and I'm going to build off that middle, just like that. And then I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the ends. So now I have 4 pieces. You can lay that panel right on top, and you can see that the tape completely covers the letters. So my letter's going to go completely covered in glitter. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and just kind of burnish that tape down so that I know it's good and stuck down, and when I pull the liner tape off, there'll be no chance of any of the adhesive coming with it. I don't think that it would, but just in case, it doesn't hurt to just kind of make sure it's pressed down really well. Now for the messy part. So I have some glitter here. I've picked out 4 shades of blue, and I'm going to put them sort of lightest to darkest. These are Martha Stewart glitter. They came from this big giant pack of glitter. But there were 4 colors of blue, so I thought that would be kind of fun to do a variegated blue. So I'm going to go from the lightest at the top to the darkest at the bottom. And you can kind of see the names of the colors there. So I turned my jars there so you can see what they're going to look like. And that's the way I'm going to do them. So this lightest color is going to be my topmost stripe here. So I'm just going to pull that backing paper off, and I'm going to shake some glitter right on there. And then I'm going to take my finger and rub it across there and make sure that glitter is nice and stuck down. So I'm just going to rub it in with my finger. And there is not enough glitter to really worry about trying to get this back in the jar, so you're going to see that I'm just going to kind of push it to the side. And it's going to be stuck to that liner paper just because it's static, but it doesn't matter because you're pulling this off. So I'm going to fast forward it here and glitter these things up really quick. So I'm putting down the next darkest color, and I'm going to burnish that in with my finger, clean it off, move on to the next one. Shake it right on, rub it right in, clean it right off. And then the last one I had a little trouble, so I had to get my tweezers. But tweezers are also very helpful if you're having trouble getting those liner papers off. And then I can take a paintbrush and just get all that extra stray glitter right off. It's really pretty looking. So I'm using Tide Pool ink here to stamp that snowflake. And I'm using some Bahama Blue ink to stamp the sentiment. I cut out the part of me with my ink swatches trying to figure out which colors work best. And I got a little dab of blue. I actually took this outside, sprayed it with that glitter spray. It's hard to see. You could kind of see the sparkle, but I got a little bit of the blue ink smudged. And you'll see I'm trying to cover that up with a white gel pen, but you'll see later that that didn't really work out to the way I liked it. So I'm adding some foam squares. I forgot to show this at the beginning. They sent us these 3D foam squares too, and they come in 2 different sizes. So I added those to the back, and they're placed in such a way that none of them are going to touch that glitter. So no chance that they're not going to stick down. So I'm getting the center of my O out there, and I'm going to use my tweezers to hold that with, and I'm going to use some glossy accents because this is going to need to stick to the glitter. And I guess you could really use some 3D something to pop it up, but I think it's kind of just as nice down in that O. I don't think that it really matters too much. And so I wasn't happy with that smudge. I didn't get it covered up very well with my gel pen. It still looked kind of dirty on that stark white. So I'm using the Lawn Ornaments Snowflake Sequins, and I've just shaken some out here, and I've scattered them around. That ink smudge is right under this silver snowflake here, so that's where I started. And I'm using the Claudine Helmuth matte medium to stick these down, only because I don't have any glue dots or zots that are small enough. Now they do make a zot that is for bling, and it would probably be perfect for this application. I just don't happen to have any. So once I get all my snowflakes stuck down where I want them, my card is pretty much finished. So here is my finished Let It Snow card and the Merry and Bright card as well. It's a really fun technique, clean, simple, but with lots of sparkle and shine. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.